Hello everyone, I'm Kanupriya Sharma from eGMAT and I'm here with this very interesting question which is based on a conversation between two people, Sasha and Jamal, for you. So let's start by solving this question. You can pause this video and resume it once you are done solving the question. Alright, so I am assuming that you have solved the question. So let me present some details for this question. This is a hard question from OG Advanced and it tests your understanding of the structure of the passage. As per student stats, the correct choice, that is choice B, has been selected by 66% of the students. Choice D and choice E are two popular incorrect answer choices. Now, what makes this question interesting? First is, this question is based on conversation between two people. Usually in our CR questions, there is only one author. Author presents his opinion, his conclusion, his premise, and based on that, we need to find assumptions, strengthener, weakeners, or infer something. In most of the questions. In case of conversation between two people, we have arguments from two people and most likely we have conclusions from two people. Mostly they do not align with each other. They go against each other. So this is the difference between the normal argument and between questions that have questions that are based on normal argument and questions that are based on conversation between two people. Now, in such questions, the question stem is very crucial because as I mentioned, there's a conversation between two people. Most likely each person has his own conclusion, and therefore the question stem, it is crucial here because it defines our direction of analysis. We'll come to it later when we discuss the question stem. We'll come to it, we'll discuss that in detail. The third thing is that we need to understand the structure of the passage. So in other CR questions, we understand the logic of the passage. And yes, here also we will understand the logic. But along with that, we need to understand the role played by each argument in such questions. The fourth one and the most important one, the correct answer choice, which is choice B here. Let me change my pen. Okay. Choice B. So choice B is difficult to understand in this question. And if you also rejected choice B for the same reason, then I will help you understand that what you can do if you get such an answer choice on your test. Right. Now, as we can see from stats, choice D and choice E, they also play a crucial role in making this question difficult. These two choices provide you incorrect information, but the language used is very simple and very relatable. And hence, many students fall in the trap of these two answer choices. So let's get to the question and see how we can identify these issues. Alright, so you've already read the passage, and from the passage we know that there's a girl named Sasha. She concludes that it must be healthy to follow a certain kind of diet. What kind of diet? A diet rich in animal proteins and fats. Now, how she derives this conclusion? She says that our prehistoric ancestors ate large amount of meat. So this is one reason. I mean, she starts her reasoning from there that our prehistoric ancestors ate large amounts of meat, and therefore human beings undoubtedly evolved to thrive on such a diet. All right. Based on that, she derives a conclusion for all the human beings that it must be healthy for all the human beings to follow a certain kind of diet. That is, to follow a diet which is rich in animal proteins and fats. All right. So this is the argument given by Sasha. Let's come to Jamal now. Now, Jamal provides an additional point here. He says that our prehistoric ancestors exerted themselves intensely in order to obtain this food. So he's saying that, okay, you are right in saying that our prehistoric ancestors ate large amounts of meat. But another thing that you need to consider is that they involved themselves in a lot of physical activity in order to obtain that food. Now, another thing that he says is that most human beings today are not are much less physically active. So he gives an additional point about prehistoric ancestors and then makes a comparison that most human beings today are much less physically active. So he's not sure if this conclusion can be applicable to all people, because most people are not following what our prehistoric ancestors used to do, and therefore he is not sure whether this conclusion made by Sasha, which is for all human beings, whether it can be true for all human beings or not. Now, an important thing to note here is that Jamal agrees with these two things. He does not question these two things. He does not question whether our prehistoric ancestors ate large amounts of meat, and he does not question whether human beings undoubtedly evolved to thrive on such a diet. So these two are very important things that there's no disagreement on these 2 points. His only concern is whether this conclusion can be applied to all human beings in general. Alright, this is a very important understanding here. Now, with this understanding, let's move to pre-thinking. So let's start with understanding the question stem. So as I mentioned that in other questions, our analysis is based on the main conclusion. And we do have only one main conclusion. In other questions, there's one author and that one author gives one main conclusion. Now, in such questions where there's a conversation between 2 people, we may have multiple conclusions since we have arguments by more than one person. Now, the question stem therefore here becomes very crucial as it defines the direction of our analysis. So let's see what I mean by that. The question stem here is, Jamal responds to Sasha by doing which of the following? So now the question stem is telling us that what actually do we need to find here? Do we need to find Sasha's argument with respect, the role of Sasha's argument with respect to Jamal's argument, or is it opposite? Actually, the thing is that the question stem asks us to describe Jamal's response to Sasha. Alright, so having understood the question stem, let's see what Jamal is trying to do in his argument. Firstly, Jamal points out a consideration that Sasha has missed. He gives this consideration about the amount of physical work done by our prehistoric ancestors. Secondly, Jamal gives a reason why Sasha's conclusion is not true for all human beings in present. So these are the 2 things that Jamal is doing. So we can say that as an answer to this question stem that Jamal responds to Sasha by doing which of the following, we can say that he points out a consideration that Sasha missed, or we can say that he gives a reason why Sasha's conclusion cannot be true for all human beings. That is, it cannot be generic. So for all human beings, it cannot be true for all human beings means that it cannot be generic. It needs to be, this conclusion needs to be made only for a specific group of people. We cannot say that this is true for all people in general. Third thing that we can say here is that Jamal points out a flaw in Sasha's reasoning. So with this pre-thinking, let's move to answer choice analysis. Alright, so let's start with choice A. Choice A is incorrect because Jamal does not question Sasha's statement about our prehistoric ancestors. We already saw. He does not question anything that Sasha has given as reasoning. He just questions the applicability of her conclusion, whether that conclusion can be applicable for all human beings in today's time or just a few of them. Right? So that is why choice A is incorrect. Choice B. Now, if we simplify choice B, it would mean that Jamal provides a piece of information that Sasha should consider to make her conclusion less general. And yes, Jamal actually provides a piece of information that Sasha should consider to limit her conclusion to the right group of people. Jamal says that our prehistoric ancestors used to involve themselves in a lot of physical activities, while most of the human beings today do not do that. So that is the consideration that Sasha should consider and limit her conclusion to the right group of people. So as per our pre-thinking, choice B is the correct answer choice. Now, let's see how we can simplify choice B, because most of the students who reject choice B do so because they are not sure of the meaning of this phrase, qualify her main conclusion. If you are also one of those students, then here is a piece of information for you. As per the Cambridge Dictionary, in grammar, a word or a phrase that qualifies another word or phrase limits its meaning and makes it less general. Therefore, choice B means that Jamal provides a piece of information that Sasha should consider to make her conclusion less general. Alright? Now, your question would be, does the phrase qualify, this should be qualify. Does the phrase qualify the conclusion mean weaken the conclusion? The answer to your question is no. Alright. To qualify a conclusion is not exactly the same as weakening the conclusion. It only means to add some conditions to the conclusion. Now, this condition or restriction can definitely have the effect of weakening the claim at some level, but these two are not exactly same. Alright? Now, Your second question, and I'm sure all of you who were not aware of the meaning of qualify her main conclusion would have this question, that how to get to the correct answer if I don't know the meaning of a word or phrase. Okay, so this question is valid, I would say. What if there is such a new phrase or term in any question on the actual test? How will you get to the correct answer in that case? So the answer here is that you should try to infer the meaning from the context. For example, even if you don't know what exactly qualify means here, you know that qualify in general means to meet an essential standard, right? For example, Olympians have to qualify to compete. That is, they have to meet some standards in order to be eligible to compete. Now, with that meaning in mind, choice B conveys that Jamal provides an additional piece of information that Sasha should consider in order to make her conclusion qualify as a valid conclusion, right? So if you see, this meaning is very close to the actual meaning of choice B. So there you can decide that, okay, this meaning is close to my pre-thinking also. So let me not reject choice B right now. And let me first analyze the remaining choices, reject them on solid grounds. If I can reject all the other answer choices on solid grounds, then yes, choice B is going to be my correct answer. So even though you are not sure of the meaning, you try to infer the meaning and then you try to reject other answer choices. So that is where rejecting all incorrect answer choices for correct reasons becomes very important, right? So let's see how we can do that. We've already rejected choice A for solid reasons. Let's see choice C, D, and E. All right. So choice C, citing additional evidence that indirectly supports her conclusion and suggests a way to broaden it. So this is incorrect because Jamal's response goes against Sasha's conclusion. So it does not in any way support her conclusion. We can easily reject this one. Choice D. Now, as per this choice, firstly, Jamal thinks that Sasha has an assumption about our prehistoric ancestors. However, nowhere are we given that Sasha's statement about prehistoric ancestors is her assumption. Hence, this part of choice D is incorrect. The second thing is that Jamal thinks that this consideration cannot be used to conclude anything about human evolution. Now, that is not what the passage says. Jamal thinks that Sasha's conclusion is not valid for everyone. However, he does not question whether Sasha's consideration can be used to arrive at any conclusion at all. So, the second part is also incorrect. And hence, we can reject choice D for two reasons. Now, choice E. Jamal compares, let me bring here, alright. Now, we know that Jamal compares the level of physical activity of human beings today with that of our prehistoric ancestors. However, Jamal does not compare the health of these two groups of people. Whether most human beings today are as healthy as our prehistoric ancestors, we don't know. Not being involved in as much physical activity does not necessarily mean that the people who are not involved in physical activity are not healthy, right? So we cannot say that Jamal is comparing the health of these two groups. So choice E is also incorrect. Now, in this question, we saw that how important it was to be able to reject incorrect answer choices for correct reasons, because the correct answer choice is not easy to understand, right? However, if you selected choice D or choice E, it is very important to understand why you did so, right? Now, the most probable reason is that you did not analyze these choices correctly. You did not understand what they are saying, and as a result, you got carried away by the terms used in these choices. So next time when you solve a question, double check if you have understood the choice and its impact on the conclusion completely before marking or rejecting any answer choice. All right. The second reason here may be that you did not pre-think what the correct answer choice should convey. So this is a very important step, pre-thinking, because if you move to answer choice analysis directly from passage understanding, then it is very much possible that you'll get confused with the kind of information that is available. And there's so much information and it is so confusing when you review all the answer choices. It becomes very confusing and it becomes difficult to reject answer choices for correct reasons. So that can be another reason. If that was the reason why you chose choice D or choice E, then pre-thinking is the correct thing to do for you. You need to get into that habit of pre-thinking what the correct answer choice should convey. Alright, so with this, let's come to the takeaways. Firstly, if any question uses a term or phrase that is new to you, try to infer the meaning from the context. Don't get afraid. Don't worry about it. Just try to infer the meaning from the context. Second, always analyze all answer choices carefully. Trap answer choices may use terms that can confuse you if you're not careful, like choice D and choice E did here. Third, always try to pre-think the answer. It helps you understand the correct logic and thus helps you in answer choice elimination. So with that, I would like to wish you good luck and happy learning.